Hello and welcome to Coding Demos. In this tutorial, we're going to learn how to create an animation for the floating action button. So previously, we created a video that shows you how to create a floating action button, but in this tutorial, we're going to do some animation to it. So if you're new to the floating action button, then I recommend you to watch the previous tutorial that I did on this channel that shows you how to create that. Now, let me show you the app that we're going to build in this tutorial. So you can see here I have a floating action button with a plus icon inside that. So when I click on the button, then it's going to animate that by rotating the icon, as you can see inside there. And then I'm going to show an extra two mini buttons. And these two mini buttons, one is for to make a call to a certain number, and the other one is to send an SMS message to a certain number. So when I click on the call, for example, and it's going to direct me to the call app to make that call. And if I do the same thing for the SMS, I click on that again, and then I click on the SMS button, then it will launch the messaging app with the number inside here. So that's basically it. Now let's just open up the Android Studio and start coding. But for this tutorial, I'm actually using the project based on the previous tutorial that I did for the floating action button. So I'm going to start from that point. Alright, so here, as you can see in the main activity, I have just one floating action button, which is the main one. Okay, so let's go to the activity underscore main, and I'm going to change the button icon. Instead of the call, I'm going to change that to the plus. But before that, currently inside my project, as you can see here under the redrawable folder, I don't have any icons, right? So I'm going to go to my material design icon provided by Google, and I'm going to look for the icon that I'm going to use it for the float action button. So I'm just going to scroll all the way down and look for the call and the message icon. So okay, there's the call. So I'm just going to click on that. I'm going to select the size of the button, which the size of the icon, which is 24 dp, and here I'm going to choose white color, and I'm just going to download that. So I'm going to do that for the call icon and the message icon, and then I'll show you guys the icons inside my project. I already added those icons, as you can see here, under resource, drawable, and you can see I have the three icons. One is the plus icon, the other one is the message and the phone. So now I'm just going to change the icon for the floating action button. Instead of call, I'm going to change that to plus. So I'll just open up the activity underscore main here, and I'll look for the floating action button, and I'll change the icon right here. So just delete this, and I'm going to select the add white 24 dp. So go back to design. Okay, so you can see there's a black background for the plus icon. You don't have to worry about that. I'm not sure why it's showing the black icon, sorry, the black background. But once you run the app, you won't actually see the black background. You will actually see the original background color of the plus icon. So you don't have to worry about that. So I have the icon ready. So next thing is I'm going to add another floating action button and a linear layout. So the linear layout basically will hold the floating action button and the text label that will be shown next to the button. So to do that, I'm going to first add a floating action button. So scroll all the way down and look for the floating action button, which is right here under the custom design. I'm going to select that. I'm going to drag it inside the screen here. Now I'm prompted to ask which icon that I need to choose for the button. Well, I'm going to select call and I'll click on OK. Alright, next I'm going to add another floating action button, and this will be the message. So I see message Y24. I'm going to select that. That's the one. Next I'm going to position these buttons on top of the main floating action button. So to do that, first I need to change their position and all that, right? So what do I do here is I'm just going to copy this. So the gravity and the margin bottom, the end and right, I'm just going to copy these, and I'm going to paste them inside each floating action button. Okay, so this is one. Oh wait, okay, so before that, before I jump into changing the attributes for the floating action button, first I need to add the layout, a linear layout. So the linear layout will hold basically the button and the label next to it. So for the linear layout, I'm going to choose horizontal. So I'm going to drag it here. That's one, and I'm going to drag another one, because for every mini button, it will have a separate linear layout. That's why we have two mini floating action button and two linear layout with horizontal orientation. Now I'm gonna copy this. Let me just take this out of the linear layout. I'm gonna cut this, and I'm just gonna put it below here. Okay. Next is I'm gonna take the, let's say, the call floating action button, which is this one. I'm gonna cut this, and I'm gonna paste it inside this linear layout. And I'm gonna take the other one, which is the message. I'm gonna cut this, and I'm gonna paste it inside the other linear layout. Alright. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a label, which is it's going to be a text view, and this text view will be positioned next to the floating action button. So to do that, I'm going to look for the text view. That's the one. I'm going to add two text view, one and two. Okay, I have two text views, and I'm going to cut this, right, and I'm going to add it inside the other linear layout. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna add one here. Alright, so we're done with the layout. Okay, don't have to worry about this. We're gonna change them inside the text. So now we have the floating action button and the layout as well as the label. Next, we're going to position them perfectly perfectly aligned with the main floating action button. So now I'm going to copy these attributes, which is the gravity, the margin bottom, the end, and the margin right. I'm going to copy these. I'm going to paste them not on. So I'm not gonna paste them inside the floating action button. Instead, I'm gonna paste them inside the linear layout itself. So I'm gonna paste them right here. This is one, and the other one is right here. Okay. Now I'm going to change the width and height for this layout. And I'm going to change it to wrap content, wrap for height, okay, and width. That's one. Oh, okay, I don't need this. Let me just delete this. All right. Let me check the other text view. Do I have the layout weight? I don't need that. All right, that's great. So let me just change the width for this one as well. So it's wrap content, reformat the code, go back to design. Okay, so they're next to each other. So I'm gonna take these buttons, I'm gonna position them on top here. So let's do that. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is I'm going to give an ID for the linear layout. So this is a call. So I'm gonna name this Android ID, and I'm gonna call it call layout. Okay, I'm gonna copy this, and I'm gonna paste it inside the other layout, linear layout, and I'm gonna change this to SMS layout so I can easily differentiate them later when I try to reference them inside the MainActivity.java. So SMS layout. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the text view label here, and I'm going to call it call, and I'm going to change that for the other text view as well to SMS. Okay, so now for the call, I'm not going to give an ID for this. So the default ID provided by Android Studio is totally fine by me. I'm going to set a style for this label, so it's style, and then we do text appearance. So what I'm actually doing right here is I'm going to use a style that's provided by Android, and that style is text appearance dot title. Yep, that's the one. So let me copy this. Now let me paste it in the other text view as well. If you go back to design, okay, the label is still not yet showing up perfectly, no worries. Now we're going to arrange them. Okay, so inside the linear layout here, I'm going to margin bottom. I'm going to increase the margin because it's normal 16 dp since this is a mini button. So I'm going to increase that, let's say to let's start with 50 or maybe 60 dp bottom. Okay, you can see the button, the call button just pop up on the top here. So I need to increase that again. So 60, let's put it 80. Let's go back to design. A bit more, so let's say 100. All right. Yep, looks okay. So next, I'm going to increase the margin here, so that the button will be positioned perfectly aligned with the main button. So for that, we're gonna do margin end. Okay, so margin end, we're gonna change it to 26, and I'm just increasing it by 10 dp. Go back to design. Okay, so we have the call. Next, I'm going to give a space between the label and the icon. So a label and the button. So if we go back to text view here, and I'm just going to do Android margin right, and I'm going to do, let's say, 5 dp, just a small space between the button. Okay, and margin right. Oops, I need to add margin end as well. Let's do that. So margin end. Let's add margin top. Margin top. Let's do 5 dp. Okay. Now it looks good. So I'm going to do the same thing for the SMS button. Let's rearrange the code. All right. So we'll go to the SMS layout. This one. And I'm going to change the margin. So for the first button, the call button, the margin button was 100. So I'm going to increase this to, let's say, 140. Let's increase it a bit more, so 160. I think that should be fine. Okay, next I'm going to change the button, so it should be positioned on the left side here. Okay, so I go to label, go to label. Okay, this is the label, so we have 100 margin end. Okay, let's do 26 dp for this. 26 dp. Go back to design. Okay, text. So I'm gonna take this and should be on top here, so that will be a position on the left. Okay, next I'm going to add a margin, the same thing like we did for the text label, the call text label. So I'm just going to copy that. So we added the margin and margin right and top. So copy, and I'm just going to paste it right here. Let's rearrange the code. Go back to design. I think we're going to increase it a bit. Recall. Let's look at the emulator. So if we click on it, yeah, this I think I'm going to increase this a bit. So go back to the the SMS and the SMS layout, and for the margin bottom, we're going to say 170. Let's okay. Yep. I think that should be fine. So we have SMS, we have call. Okay. And let me just change the text should be SMS and change this to call. Okay. Next is we need to give an ID for the floating action button, so they can easily reference that inside the MainActivity.java. So here I have the floating action button. So I'm just gonna change this to, this is call, so we're gonna do call button, and for the SMS we're going to change that to SMS button. Go back to design. Okay. Another thing, we need to change the icon color. The icon color, it shouldn't be the accent color, it should be the primary color. So to do that, I'm going to go to the floating action button. I'm going to do app and background tint, and I'm going to select the color primary. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it inside the other floating action button. Okay. Now go back to design. Alright, so we have the colors perfectly ready. Now we're done with the layout. Now let's go to MainActivity.java and we start referencing the views that we just created. Now let me just close this. Alright. But previously we have already declared the main floating action button, and we've set an on-click listener to make a call to this number. Next, we're going to create another floating action button. So I'm just going to duplicate this 3 times, 1, 2, and I'm going to change this to let's say M call button, and this one it should be M SMS button, and I'm going to change the ID for this, so it is call button, and this one is SMS button. Okay, next is what we're going to do. We're going to define the layout that we've just created, those layout that hold the floating action button and the text label. So they are linear layout, so we do linear layout, and we call it M call layout equals to linear layout, find view ID r.id dot add, that will be call layout. I'm gonna duplicate this for the SMS, so it is M SMS layout, and we'll change the ID to SMS layout. Okay, so I have these layouts ready. Next is, when the user clicks on the main floating action button, I need to show the layout, the SMS and call layout. So for that, I'm going to take this out. I'm gonna comment this out, alright, because we don't need that anymore. We're going to do that for the call button later on. So for now, inside the onClick here. So now inside the onClick, first thing is, when the user clicks on the floating action button, I'm gonna hide the layout or I'm gonna show it. So to do that, first I need to check if I'm going to check the visibility of these layouts, whether they're visible or not. So if they are visible, then I'm gonna hide them. If they're not visible, then I'm gonna show them. Okay, so to do that, I'm gonna do if m call layout dot get visibility. We're checking whether they are visible. So get visibility equals to visible, and SMS layout dot get visibility get visibility equals to visible. Then what we're going to do here is, let me just add it in a new line. Alright, so if the call layout dot get visibility equals visible, and the SMS layout dot get visibility is visible as well, then I'm going to just hide them. So to do that, I'm going to do mcall layout dot set visibility, and we just set it to gone. We're going to do the same thing for the SMS layout, SMS layout set visibility dot gone. That's if the visibility of these layouts are visible. Otherwise, else I'm gonna set the visibility to visible to each one of them. So I'm just gonna copy this, I'm gonna paste it inside the else condition, and I'm going to change the visibility to visible. I'm gonna do that for the SMS layout as well. Alright, now we're done with this layout, but we haven't added any animation yet. We'll do that later on. Next, I'm going to set an on-click listener for the call button and the SMS button. So to do that, I'm going to go outside of the floating action button, the main one. So this is the one, this is the ending parentheses. So right here, I'm going to do m call button dot set on click listener. Okay, so here in the call button, and by the way, for the call button, right, in the previous tutorial, I've actually used this this way, start activity, just passing the action view, 10 action view, and passing the number that we need to call. But this actually works, but there's actually another way that I found out that that can do the same thing, but instead it's like uh, it is a bit safe to do the second method, which I'm going to show you right now. And this second method is what we're gonna do is we're actually checking if there is an app that might hold, sorry, if there is an app that can handle this type of action, which is a call, then I'm gonna start the activity. Otherwise, I'll just show a toast message to the user that there is no action that can support this app. Sorry, there's no app that can support this action. Okay, let me just write the code and show you what I'm actually talking about. So inside the onClick method here, I'm going to do attent, and I'm going to call it name attent equals to new attent, and here I'm going to do attent dot action, and since it's called, so I'm going to do action dial, and I'm going to end it with semicolon. So here attent dot set data. So set data here is where I'm going to pass the phone number that we need to call. So set data, I'm going to do URI dot parse, and I'm just going to pass in the tell, and I'm going to pass the phone that we need to call. Semicolon. Here is the other part that is really important. What we do here is we check if there is an app that can handle this action. That's why we do mattend.resolve activity, and then we do get package manager is not equal to null. So what we're doing here is, if there is an app that can handle the call action, then just start the activity normally. Now if there is no action, sorry, there is no app that can handle this action, I'm just going to show a toast message to the user saying that hey, there is actually no app that can support this action. So I'm going to pass the context, which is the main activity.this, and the message, there is no app that support this action, and should be length.short and show the toast. Okay, that's the only difference. But like I said, the previous method works as well. You can actually make a call, but this one is like a safer method. Why? Because we're checking if there's an app that can handle this action. Because sometimes, for some reason, that might not work and your app might crash, right? So just to be on the safe side, you can just do this method, use this method, and your app won't crash. Okay, so now we're done with the call button. I'm going to do it for the SMS button as well. So it's SMS button dot set on click listener. It's new on click listener. So inside here, I'm just gonna copy this, right? I'm gonna just change a few things. So let's copy this first, paste it right here, and inside the intent, I'm going to change the action underscore dial to action underscore view. Okay. Next, I'm going to change the set data. Instead of tell, this should be SMS, and the phone number is the same phone number, and the toast message is the same. There is no app that supports this action. Okay, so I have the SMS button and they have the call button. So for now, this looks alright. Let me just delete this because we don't need that anymore. For this tutorial, I'm just going to use the safer method of making a call and SMS. Alright, so I have the layout. And once I use the clicks on the main floating action button, I'm checking the layout visibility, whether they're visible. And if they are visible, I'm going to set the visibility for both of them to gone. Otherwise, I'm going to set the visibility to visible. Next, I'm handling the call button, and to call this phone number, the SMS to SMS that number, and that number is right here, initialized to these digits. For now, it looks alright. By the way, I haven't added any animation yet, so let me just run the app and see how it looks like in the emulator. Once everything looks good, we'll start with the animation part. So I have the emulator right here running. I'm just gonna run this, choose that, okay, and wait for this to build. Alright, so the app is running here. So I have the button, and inside the button I have the icon that we've just set it, which is the plus. So when I click on that, okay, you see the call and the SMS button shows up, and if I click on it again, it's hides them, show up, hides them. So okay, so when I click on the call button, I'm directed to the call app to make the call. If I go back and click on the SMS, then I'm going to be directed to the SMS function here. Sorry, my SMS app to send a message. Oops. Okay. So here I have them. Alright, so now we are done with the actual functions, and now we'll start with the animation. So to do the animation, you open up your project from the side here and go to resource. So you can see here I don't have any animation folder. So to do that, you just right click on the resource, new, and Android resource directory, and I'm going to give that name. So just going to call it anim as for the animation, and then the resource type would be animation, which is this. So I click on OK. Now we have an animation folder. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we have two types of animation. The first animation is the one that rotates the plus icon. Sorry, the one that rotates the plus icon once you click on the actual button, and the other one is the animation for the layout to show up from the top here and hide them easily, right? So to do that, I'm going to right click on the animation folder we've just created, and I'm going to add a new animation resource file. I'm going to I'm going to name this as show button, right? and we're going to create another one. Oops, sorry. Right click. I'm going to name it hide button, and I'm going to create another. Oh boy, I'm going to create another layout, and this layout would be hiding the mini buttons. So I'm going to call it show layout, and the other one is hide layout. Okay, so the first thing we do is we're gonna work with the show and hide button. So the show and hide button will act as the method for as the animation for rotating the plus icon. Okay. So now for the animation, inside my browser here, I have another site that's actually a tutorial that shows you how to animate the floating action button. I'm just going to use a part of his code. You can see that in this tutorial he's actually teaching you guys how to do a floating action button but in different direction. But in our case we don't need to show the mini floating action button from this side. We're going to show it from the top here. So I'm just going to use some of his animation code, which is right here. Okay, so the first thing is the rotate. So I'm just going to copy this, and don't worry, I'll walk you through, guys. Okay, so I'm gonna paste it right here. I'm sorry, I need to add the Android fillers. I'll set it to true. Okay, so what we have right here is the rotate. So why we need to rotate? Because we need to rotate the plus icon. So to do that, there is a duration. So duration is like the duration is in milliseconds. But like how long you want the rotate icon, how long you want to rotate that icon. So we're going to rotate the icon within 500 milliseconds, and from which degree. So by default, if the button is not yet rotated, so we're gonna start from 0. So we're starting from 0, and here we have the pivot X and Y. Basically tells you from which point you want to start the animation. So 50% means that you want to start the animation from the center of the view. The repeat count basically tells you like how many times you want to repeat the same animation. Well, we're going to repeat it only once, and we don't need the repeat mode. Reverse, we don't need that. We're not repeating anything. We're only gonna rotate the icon once only, right? So we're gonna rotate that within this duration, which is 500 milliseconds, starting from 0 degree to which degree? To 45 degrees. We're going to rotate the icon 45 degrees. Okay, let me go back again, and then copy this and paste that inside the hide button. Alright, let me add Android fillers again, so it's true. Okay, so here we're doing the same thing. The duration will be 500 milliseconds, but for in this case from degrees, previously it was 0, but this time, since the button is already visible and we need to hide it, so if the button is visible, that means from which degree that icon was rotated, it was 45 degrees. So we say 40, we want to hide the button, we're going to rotate the icon from 45 degrees, which is here. From which degree? 45 degrees to, okay, we don't need the repeat count, we don't need the reverse, to 0 degrees. All right. So we did, if we go to the show button here and the rotate, we say, okay, we need to rotate it for within 500 milliseconds. From which degree? From 0 degree to 45 degrees. That's when we want to show the button, and that's how the icon will rotate. Now, if we want to hide the button, so the duration would be 500 milliseconds, and the degree will start from 45 to 0 degree. Okay, that's for rotating the icon. Now to reference these files, we need to go to the main activity. Let me just close this to give you guys extra space. Alright, so here I'm going to do animation. I'm going to call it show button, right? Equals to animation utils, that's the one, dot load animation. So to load the animation, we are required to pass two values: the context, which is in our case MainActivity.this, and the resource animation resource ID, which is the file that we've just created, and that is r.animation anim.show button. And let me just duplicate this. For this one would be hide button, and this would be hide button. Okay. Now, inside the onClick method of the main floating action button, we're going to do, here we're checking if the layout is visible and all that. So inside here, we're going to do mfab dot start animation, and we're going to pass in mhide. The reason why we're doing mhide, because the visibility of these layouts are visible. That's why we're hiding these layouts, and we are hiding the floating action button. Sorry, we're rotating the icon to its original position, and that's why we're calling the mfab.startAnimation.hide button. Now, if these layouts are not visible, then we set the visibility like we did here, and we call mfab.startAnimation.show show button. Okay, now let's run the app. So we click on the floating action button. Okay, you can see the icon rotated, right? Rotated to 45 degrees. Now if we click on it again, alright, rotate again, it rotates back. And that's what we're actually doing right here. So now we're done with the plus icon rotation animation. Next is we need to animate the layout, this layout, so that when you click on the floating action button, then it will animate like really nice from the top here. So to do that, we're going to open up the project here and go back to the animation files. Oops, it should be under resource animation. Yep, that's the one. So now we're done with the show and hide button. Now we work with the show layout and the hide layout. So let me just close this because we don't need that anymore. Okay, so here inside the show layout, I'm going to go back to the same site, and now we're done with rotating the icon. Next we need to translate. So the meaning of translate is we're moving something from one position to another, and the alpha is basically if you want to uh, do some fade in and fade out animation, then you use the alpha. So I'm gonna copy this, and I'm going to paste it inside the show layout first. So we'll work with the show layout, and then we'll go back to the hide layout. So here I'm going to add the Android photos again, and that will be true. Okay, so let me just add the parentheses, sorry, a slash here. Okay, so here the duration will be the same thing like we set for the show button, and that is 500. So we'll set 500 here. Okay, next is we have another attributes, which is from x delta and from y delta to x delta to y delta. So for that, for what they mean by it is from the x and from the y. So from the y is that since we're going to animate the icon from the y path, right? So the animation would be, we need to pass in 50% here. and we're not going to work with X here, so I'm just going to set the value to 0, because we're working with the, if we go back to the animation here, for the action button, because when we're working in the Y path, right? So we will need to pop the animation from the top here. So to do the animation, we're going to pass in a value of 50%. We're not going to work with the X, we're working with the Y. Okay. Now, inside the translate, so we have the duration 500, and from Y delta, that will be 50%. Okay. And then the alpha, the duration will be same thing, 500, but from alpha 0, sorry, from alpha means that from previously it was hidden, that's why we pass 0, 0.0, and now we need to fully show it, so to fully show it we pass 1.0. So now we're done with the show layout. Now we need to work with the hide layout. So I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it inside here. Let me just copy this as well for simplicity. We need this Android fillers when we're doing some animation. Okay, so here in the translate, so previously it was from 50, right? But now since we need to hide the layout, so we'll just pass in 0. And for the alpha, right? Previously it was 0.1, but now since the layout is visible and we need to hide it, so from alpha would be 1.0 and to alpha will be 0.0. Okay, so now we're done with the animation part. Let's go back to main activity and reference this animation. So let me just duplicate this 2 times, and I'm going to name it M show layout, and this would be M hide layout, and this would be sorry, it should be show layout, and this one is hide layout. Okay, now inside the floating action button, we need to reference these values, these animation that we just created. So to do that, I'm going to set the animation here. So we're setting the visibility to gone. So to do that, we do mcall layout dot start animation, and that would be m hide layout, because we're setting the visibility of this layout to gone, so we're hiding the layout animation. And we're going to do that for the we're going to do that for the SMS as well. So it's m SMS layout and hide the layout as well. Otherwise, I'm just going to copy this and paste it right here. Instead, show the animation, which is m show layout, and here m show layout. Okay, now let's try and run this. Okay, so I have the app running. So when I click on the button, alright, so you see the icons smoothly animate from the top here. So when you click on hide it, click on the button again, that hides them. Open up, hides, open up, hides. Okay, now let's see if we open up, then when you click on the SMS, okay, it opens the SMS app, click on back. Okay, you see what I want to do right now is when I click on the SMS, I need to hide this layout as well. So to do that, I'm just going to call these layouts, which is, yep, these are the one. I'm gonna hide them on button click. So if the user clicks on the call button, I'm just gonna hide these layouts, and if the user clicks on SMS, I'm gonna do the same thing here. So when I run the app, alright, so the app is running. So when I click on it, click on the SMS, for example. Okay, you can see the layout hides it. So click on back. Okay. Oh, you can see the button icon is not animated properly. Okay, so let's do that. So we do that's for the main button. So this one. Okay, let me just copy this and button. Close the animation, which means rotate the icon back to its original state. Okay. Now we're on the app again. But you can see that I don't know why, for some reason, the layout is immediately showed up, even though the icon is not rotated. Okay, let's look at the layout here. Because we're setting the visibility. Let's look at the main activity. Oh, okay. Another reason. It's because we actually didn't set the visibility of these layouts to be gone. That's why when you run the app, this layout will immediately shows up. So what we do is set the visibility. So it's Android dot set, Android visibility, and gone. We're gonna do it for the call layout and for the SMS layout. If we go back to design, okay, now the layout is hidden. So when you run the app, the buttons will not show up immediately unless you click on the floating action button. Let's run the app. So you can see that if the app is running and we don't see the main buttons shows up. So I click on the button, okay, it animates. Now if we click on the call, it directs you to the call app. If we click on back to see whether the icon is rotated or not, okay, you can see the icon rotated back to its original state. So I click on SMS, okay, we're directed to the SMS app, and the icon is rotated back to its original state. Okay, so that's basically it for this tutorial. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of these awesome tutorials, please click on the subscribe button. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching, and happy coding.